Hello and welcome to the 22nd episode of Tailoring in Conversation. In this series, I'll be talking to tailors, cloth merchants, business owners, and other industry participants from all around the globe to gain a better insight into their worlds. If you have enjoyed our content so far, please subscribe as we have some exciting things upcoming for the worldwide tailoring community. Today, we're going to be in Mexico, and my guest for today is Marco Berriozabal. Marco is a bespoke coat maker based in Mexico City and is currently working for a company called Pompeia. Now, most of you must be familiar with Marco's work. He's the guy who makes probably the most beautiful buttonholes and pockets you've ever seen. So far, every time I've seen his work, it's inspired me to do better, and I've been looking forward to have this conversation with him and ask him why he is so obsessed with details. Let's get started. Marco, thank you so much for making the time. I've been following your work for about a few years now, I think, probably like 3 or 4 years. And every time I see your work, it really does me good because there is a lot of precision in your work and there is a lot of attention to detail, which I very much praise. So thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Reza, for inviting me.
Sure. Marco, first question I would ask you is if I lived in Mexico City and we were friends and maybe we were neighbors, what kind of a friend were you when at 10 years old?
I don't know, maybe I was playing around.
Were you a noisy kid or were you quiet and were you
Yeah,
spending time alone?
yeah, I've been told by my mom that I was quiet. Yeah, quiet kid.
Yeah. Did you make things at that age as well or not?
Things about what?
Handmade things. Were you into crafts as a kid as well?
Well, I don't remember actually.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay. That's okay. Tell me a little bit about the general tailoring scene in Mexico, because I don't know anything about Mexico and tailoring in Mexico. But what if you would describe how tailoring now is in Mexico? What sort of a scene would you describe?
Well, the tailoring trade is growing a lot in Mexico City.
Hmm.
There's this boom about networks and Instagram, and a lot of bloggers share their outfits, and yeah, it's growing a lot, and many young people is wearing suits again.
Yeah, it seems like everywhere in the world the tailoring industry is growing more, although a lot of people always say, "Oh, it's a dying trade," but most of the people who I've spoken to do say the same thing as you. It's growing, and probably a big part of that is because of our access to other countries through photographs. Um, are there a lot of people interested in suits as well? With just as culturally, do people wear a lot of suits?
Well, people wear a lot of suits, but yeah, there's uh, low people that can actually afford a handmade suit. So yeah, it's growing. The trade it's growing in Mexico, but also there's um, a low quantity of tailors.
Oh, you don't have a lot of tailors in Mexico.
We don't have a lot of tailors that make a full bespoke.
Uh huh. Okay, okay. So what you have more factory garments?
Yeah, we have more factory garments, and yeah, maybe. Well, you see that I've always put all this attention to detail, and there's not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
tailors that make that fine work in
Mm-hmm.
Mexico.
Can you tell us a little bit about how your journey started? I'm curious to know because looking at your work, it seems as if you are meant to do this. You were born to do this. Now, I don't know whether that your journey was as straightforward as that, but you can perhaps elaborate on it.
Well, it's funny because I didn't plan to be a bespoke tailor. I wanted to be this scientist, computer things, and
Right.
I was good at math as well in
Mm-hmm.
school, and I wanted to be I wanted to work in program what do you
Mm-hmm.
say programmer.
Yeah.
And bueno, I didn't go to college, and I started working in other jobs. I didn't last in other jobs because I didn't want to be something else. And it's fun. It's funny. I say it's funny because my mom uh, is a dressmaker. it's
All
it,
right. Okay.
it's funnier because my mom didn't want to be a dressmaker as well, and she
What
ended
did she
up
want to be?
Uh, I don't know. She studied something else, but she ended up working as a dressmaker, and she ended up loving her job because I
Mm-hmm.
used to remember that when she was, I don't know, depressed or she was anxious, she used to go to the workshop and work in something, and I was like, why do you do this? But what do you do this if you didn't like the job at first? And she used to tell me, I don't know, it's just the work. I don't know why I ended up loving it. And yeah, all this stuff about threads and sewing machines. I used to very familiar to all
Mm-hmm.
of these fabrics and materials. And I don't know, at some point I decided to study or take
Mm-hmm.
lessons about drafting or pattern making or yeah, making uh, garments
Mm-hmm.
because I like to dress in suits.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why not to take lessons? And I started taking lessons of pattern making in
Mm-hmm.
2014.
Mm-hmm.
With my teacher, I took 6 months of pattern making first, and then he started a project.
Mm-hmm.
He opened a workshop and invited me to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2014 when I
Mm-hmm.
started making suits, and that's where I learned all I know.
Mm-hmm. 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 I remember that I think about 2 or 3 years ago when we were um, talking on Instagram, I think you mentioned that your teacher originally originally trained in Italy. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was invited to work in a shop in Italy about
Mm-hmm.
10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then he came back to
Mm-hmm.
Mexico and he started
Mm-hmm.
giving lessons first. Then
Mm-hmm.
he opened a shop, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he invited me and other young people to work with him.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see. Now, what would you say the average or the general Mexican style is in tailoring? Where do the influences come from, style wise?
Um, I think this Spanish, well, uh, many tailors work with I think Italian styles, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
other work more like English styles, more constructed shoulders, more
Mm-hmm.
constructed garments. But yeah, this Italian style
Mm-hmm.
is growing a lot because in Mexico we have more warm
Mm-hmm.
weather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the winters are not very long, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why the Italian style is more common, I think.
I see. I see. That makes sense. I was speaking to someone from Japan, and he said that one of the biggest influencing factors on the way they chose to dress style wise was the humidity. Would you say that that's the case in Mexico as well? I mean, it's not that humid in Mexico, I guess, but it's definitely hot.
Yeah, it's kind of hot the winters are kind of hot, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, same as you said.
Mm-hmm. 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 How was how was your journey? Like when can you give a basic framework of how your apprenticeship went from where you started? What were the first things that you had to learn, and then how did your progression from zero to where you are now go?
Yeah, when I started working in the shop, I
Mm-hmm.
started making canvas, pad
Mm-hmm.
stitching,
Mm-hmm.
buttonholes, because my teacher always said that making buttonholes allows you to, I don't know, make the things faster.
Mm-hmm.
We always started with making buttonholes and pad stitching, and maybe pad stitch. Pad shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I decided making chest pockets first,
Yeah.
and I think holding the canvas with the fronts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I started from that, making pockets, front pockets, chest pockets, the canvas. Um, yeah, I don't know, the edges,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
big stitch.
Mm-hmm. And was it so that he was showing you every step, or were there other more experienced students who would teach you things or show you things?
But I always started with with small processes first,
Mm-hmm.
and then the more complicated process later.
Right. And was he the one that showed you everything?
Um,
Or did he have assistants who were helping him and they would show you things as well?
yeah, first that way.
And at this moment, you guys are working in a workshop or an actual shop? Is it like a big atelier where you make things for, um, sorry, where you're just making things, or is it like a shop front and then you have the tailors at the back? Or what kind of things do I have to imagine at the place that you're working?
Well, the workshop. I mean, there's no showroom in the
Mm-hmm.
workshop. The
Mm-hmm.
well, we used to go to the
Mm-hmm.
customers
Mm-hmm.
take the measures
Yeah.
and go back to the shop and make the patterns. But
Mm-hmm.
it's more common for us to go to the customers and
Oh,
their
I see.
homes or officers or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, or with the office.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we go to the customers and
Okay.
yeah, and make everything.
Mm-hmm. And how many tailors are working there in that workshop?
Um, around
Eight.
around eight people.
Yeah. Eight. Eight. And everybody's. Do you have like specialized? Everybody's specialized in something. Like you have trouser makers, coat makers, pattern cutters, or does everybody do everything at the same time?
Yeah, the people specialize in one process or two. And there's
And
people who make the patterns, and there's other people to make the trousers.
right. And from the eight people, how many people do trousers, coats, and patterns?
Around two people make trousers,
Yeah.
and one make the patterns,
Uh huh.
and the rest the jacket.
I see. I see. And are you guys planning to expand the workshop as well, or is it meant to be like eight people and that's it?
The plan is working like that right now, but eventually growing.
Okay. I see. Yeah, it's a curious thing because I don't know how Mexico is, but you can tell me. At the moment in London, what's happening is a lot of individual artisans who used to work in a bigger shop are kind of like starting their own thing. They are becoming freelancers or are individual artisans, and they have their own small clientele. And it seems that we are in a phase where bigger companies are having a lot of spin-offs, and smaller companies or individual artisans are kind of like developing a little bit more. How would you describe the scene in Mexico? Do you have more individual artisans or more companies, or what is the dynamic there?
Well, there's a lot of tailors in Mexico, and there's a lot of low artisans who make for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
or opening their own shops.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but the scene in Mexico, it's um, many factories, but many art alone artisans as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Um, I'd like to talk a little bit about your work and your obsession with details. Tell me first a little bit about why do you pay, and I say this because I do the same, but I'd like to know what you say. Why do you pay so much attention to details? Why are details important?
Because I want the work to turn out so flawless and perfect. Because it's for a customer that who's gonna wear his suit for 10 years or more,
Mm-hmm.
and wherever he goes, I want people to admire him and admire his suit.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I don't know. I'm so obsessed with details. The I don't know. I want to be known for these obsessions to details. I want the people to be happy with my work,
Mm-hmm.
and um, they don't need more. It's more uh, about customers to wear a good suit.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you say how much you're thinking about the customer when you're making the work.
Yeah,
Um, it could be that not everybody does that, and when they are working on something, they just think about the work and not about the customer per se. Um, have you always done that? Is that the main thing that drives you to want to achieve the smallest details at the most perfect level, or is it also maybe to do with the fact that you were interested in maybe coding and programming? And when you're coding, you cannot roughly code. You have to be exact with every letter and every sign and symbol. So, what do you think is the main reason behind that?
yeah. I think um, you can't make a mistake about programming. I mean, your program won't work if you make
Mm-hmm.
a uh, even a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a mistake. And yeah, I was think about the customer. I was thinking um, that uh, I want him to be happy
Mm-hmm.
with the suit he's wearing, because he's paying a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and I want him to be happy with this work, and I want him to come back and
Mm-hmm.
buy more suits. And yeah, I mean, I don't usually go to the customers,
Mm-hmm.
and I want the people who go to the customers to get I don't know, a bad comment about the work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking all about that. I'm thinking about the customer. I'm thinking about the people who go to the customers and talk to the client. And yeah, I think I don't know. I need to think more about how is behind my obsession with details.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a very interesting thing because you say even a dot can mess up the programming that you do, right? And I mean, obviously, it's not no tailor is going to become a programmer, or maybe just a few. But do you think, in general, right? If we talk about tailoring apprenticeship or tailoring education, right? Do you think that something that requires the same approach as coding, and with that I mean an exercise that demands you to be very specific with what you're doing, do you think that that improves the work of tailors in general?
It should improve the tailoring, but I don't know. I don't know why so many people don't focus on the details. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Maybe maybe people hate their their job
Mm-hmm.
and don't put that attention to detail. But I ended up loving my work, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I put all attention to details, and I want to be
Mm-hmm.
perfect.
Well, I feel exactly the same about details, man. I love working on detailed things, and sometimes um, I focus so much on them that I forget about the rest. You know, of the forget about the. But one of the things that I've heard a lot is that like the counter argument to details, like why you shouldn't work on details, was always the customer is not going to notice. That's one thing they would say is like, well, you don't need to do the details. They're never going to notice that. Or they would say, it will take too much time. And the best thing you can do is to take that time away from the details and just make sure that the color, sleeves, and the facings and perhaps the shoulders look good. And then you don't need to worry about nice pockets or whatsoever. What's your take on that? Have you ever heard those arguments, or what do you think?
Yeah, a lot about same comments about the people won't notice about the details, but details details for me are everything. I mean, it's a difference between a cheap garment and bespoke a bespoke suit.
Yeah.
Is details are very important because if you don't take care about the details, all the garment looks I don't know, cheap. And yeah, I've gotten this comments about the time, and it's a problem. Sometimes it's a problem to be to be focused on all the details, because I always take more time than my companions to finish a process, and sometimes I get comments that I need to hurry up, and man, I don't really care about the time. I want the process to turn out perfect for me, because all of the all this process, if you sum up this process, the garment looks so perfect, and I want my work to look that way. I don't want my work to look cheap.
Yeah. That's a problem. If especially now that I think a lot of ready to wear and made to measure suits, they have also very neat details. When you look at the pockets that ready to wear jackets have or made to measure, they all look very nice. And so if you're a bespoke tailor and then you don't pay attention to those details, unless everything else is so perfect that it's okay to ignore the details, which is unlikely, then details are indeed very important. You see yourself as a craftsman, right? That's how we see each other as well. What do you think it means to be a craftsman? What does that personally for you mean? If what value does it have for you? You would you say?
Yeah, I love making things with my hands. That's the part I love about being a craftsman. And I don't know. I don't see myself in the selling part. Oh, I'll always. I'm very shy with the customers. I don't usually go to the customers. I think my place. I'm sure my place is in the shop, making the process with my hands. I love making things with my hands. I would like to learn. I don't know. Painting maybe, or making other craft that you can create with your hands. I love that part. I love that part of being a craftsman.
Do you do drawing and painting as well?
Yeah, I draw. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And have you been doing that for a long time, or is this something you've?
Yeah, since high school.
What sort of things do you draw?
It's more like geometrics,
Oh yeah,
geometrics drawings. Yeah.
right. And would you say that does that inspire your work with tailoring, or do you see them as
In a
separate
in a part
things?
in a part.
Which part exactly?
Again, please.
Which part does it which part of the drawing does inspire you with the tailoring?
Um, I don't know. My drawings are more geometric,
Mm-hmm.
lines, and filling spaces.
Mm.
And yeah, I think this obsession is comes in part from my mom because
Mm-hmm.
she's um, she likes to put attention to details. She's like a perfectionist person, and I
Mm.
think I learned that from her, and I like being this perfectionist with my work as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you practice as well apart from the work that you do? Like, obviously, if you're making things every day, that in itself is already some sort of a practice. But besides that, do you also take your own time to perfect something on the side?
Yeah, I've been practicing the Milanese buttonhole
Mm-hmm.
recently, and I think I've shared pictures about that.
Yeah,
And I'm learning. I'm learning about embroidery. I,
embroidery.
yeah, I'm teaching myself to embroider.
And is that just general interest, or were you inspired by something?
I think was inspired by tailoring.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to learn things about tailoring or sewing by hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to learn all the things related to the same
Mm-hmm.
field.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you kind of like manage to master different aspects of sewing in general, it all eventually adds up to your level of mastery. Do you have a method of practicing? Do you look for specific things, or do you have a method of trying things in a specific order, or do you write things down? Do you make notes? How do you learn? Is the question really? How do you practice?
Well, when I started learning, I wanted to do it in this order. First, buttonholes, pick stitch, pockets, canvassing, and then I don't know, maybe as the holding front and back together,
Mm-hmm.
shoulders, collars, sleeves. Yeah, in that order.
And did you have a specific reason why you wanted to do it in that order?
Because I thought it was the right way to learn all the process from the easiest ones to the more difficult ones.
I see. Um, Marco, here is something interesting. I talk to a lot of tailors, and sometimes they tell me what we do is very limited. What we do is very small. We're not doctors. We're not saving lives. We're not inventing space shuttles. We're doing very little for humanity and things like that. And I've heard that like throughout the years consistently. People say, "Oh, well, you're just making clothes," or you're just in a basement doing a little bit of sewing. But that doesn't sit well with me, right? I think I personally have the feeling that there is something about artisans and artists in general that, if done well and if cultivated well to an exceptional level, can can add value to society in ways that we maybe cannot imagine yet. It's definitely clear that a lot of artists in the past, they have helped society to look at things perhaps differently, with paintings or with architecture or with sculpture, and the artists themselves, they are also always looking for something new. They are trying to perfect something. I mean, when you are making buttonholes and you're focusing on the corners of the pocket that you're making, clearly you're searching for something. You're trying to bring something from within, and articulate that in the form of the art that you're pursuing. what place do you think that we artisans have in society, and what do you think it is that we have to offer?
Um,
I know it's a difficult question, but take your time. It's see. We'll see where it goes.
I think it's everybody has or had the same attitude about putting attention or caring about the details. If everybody would do that, um, I don't know, the world would be the world would be a better place. If I don't know if everybody would put attention to their job and reaching to make things better every day, I don't know, the world would be a better place. I think that's a difficult question.
Well, you say something very, very important there, and I think it's a fundamental thing. And what you say is that if everybody would do that, right? And one of the things that I learned probably in the last 2 or 3 years, was that every time I'm about to make a decision, or I'm about to do something that is maybe new, or something that's turned into a habit, I should ask myself, what would happen if everybody would do what I am going to do now? And then I try to simulate what would happen. I mean, I can't know because it's too much, but at least with my limited capabilities, I would try to simulate, okay, if everybody would now do as I am doing now, what would happen? And then it usually indicates whether it's a good thing or not. Because if everybody would sit home and just smoke, or do something, that wouldn't really bring the best part out of them, then that wouldn't be a good idea. So for the same reason, it wouldn't be good for one person even to just sit at home and just smoke, for example. But you also say that it's aspiring to perfect something, and I don't know what that is, man. I don't know why we sometimes aspire to perfect things. Why? Like, tell me from your experience, when you are making a buttonhole, or you're making a jacket, or whatsoever, what happens to you as the person when you have accomplished the perfection that you were seeking? What does it to you?
The satisfaction,
Satisfaction.
satisfaction with my work, satisfaction. I'm sure customer will love their garment, and yeah, man. Thinking about the future has become an obsession for me. I always think about what is going to happen if I make this perfect. What is going to happen if I don't put attention to this or that? What the client gonna think about me? The customer might not see me, but what the customer gonna think about the person who made this? What the customer gonna imagine about the person who put all the attention to make this pocket perfect, or maybe the buttonholes perfect? Yeah, I'm always think about that. I always think what people's gonna think about me, or what people's gonna think about the shop in general, or the brand in general, or or the people who taught me tailoring. Uh, yeah, it's become an obsession. It equals to focus my attention to detail. Thinking about the future has become an obsession. I always think about tomorrow, what I'm gonna do, where I'm gonna be at, where I'm gonna be with. Yeah, I always think about that.
Do you have a lot of friends who do tailoring as well?
Yeah, my friends who learned with me in the shop. around 6, 8 people.
And would you say that they have the same approach as you, or do they have other things that they like to specialize in?
Yeah, we all want to specialize in jackets, trousers, uh, waistcoats, shirts,
What
maybe.
What do you think about specialization in general? Do you think that it's good if tailors specialize in one garment, or do you think it's good or better if a tailor does everything?
Um, well, we've specialized in every garment. I've seen that English tailors specialize in one garment, coat or the trouser, but here with my friends, they would love to specialize in every garment. We love to learn everything from the patterns, from the pattern making to the construction of the garments.
It's funny because uh, obviously I feel the same as well, and I've seen many people who like to learn everything, and when they are new and they walk into a workshop and they say, "Hey, I'd like to learn." One of the frequent things they always say is, "I'd like to." If you ask them, "What do you want to learn?" they would say, "I want to learn everything." But then the funny part is, wanting to learn everything is a lot, right? As you know, you don't just
Yeah.
like 10 minutes work on the jacket, 10 minutes on the trousers, and then another half an hour, and then you're a master tailor, right? So it requires a lot of dedication. It's quite funny because every time someone says, at least that's how I've experienced it, every time someone said, "I want to learn everything," most people didn't take them seriously because they said that. You know what I mean? Whereas when someone said, "Hey, I'm here to only learn trousers," immediately there was more seriousness involved. Why do you think that is?
Where there are many young people that want to that they would love to learn tailoring, and they immediately say, "I want to learn everything," but everything is a lot. It's years. It takes ages
Yeah.
to learn everything. So, and yeah, when they realize that tailoring is a lot of work, it's a lot of dedication, it's a lot of practice, they ended up quitting. Yeah, and yeah, as you said, if young people come and want to learn, I don't know, buttonholes or the pattern making, yeah, you are more willing to teach them.
Yeah, I agree. It is the case that a lot of people don't or underestimate how long and how much work it takes to learn tailoring. Now, this is something actually, as I'm thinking about it now, it's a bit bizarre because we always think that, I guess you have experienced the same. It's quite physical when you're tailoring, when you're sewing, right? Your neck, your shoulder, everything becomes tense, especially if something goes wrong and you want to fix it quickly. So your eyes can hurt, the light can be bad. It's all these things that puts a lot of physical pressure on the person, and then also you need to have the capacity to make a mistake, look at the mistake, and then say, "Okay, silly me," and then repeat until you can fix it, right? And if you're lucky, you can, and if you're not lucky, you have to start all over again. But what is not so obvious for me is, does learning tailoring have to be as difficult as it currently is for the majority of people? Do you think there are ways that we can make teaching tailoring or learning tailoring easier, at least 1% than what it is already now?
I don't know, man. It's tailoring. It's a very specific job. I don't know. I don't know many other jobs, but tailoring is very specific. I think it's one of the reasons I like this job because it's very specific. You have to be very specific with your hands and the direction of the nail, the needle. Sorry. You have
Mm-hmm.
to be so precise,
Mm.
and I don't think there's a way to make it easier. I don't need you need a lot of practice to perfect. I don't know any process,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I don't, I'm not sure if there's a way to make it easier.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. It's definitely the case that the hours have to be put there. You know, you need to make the hours, and you need to have, you need to make the mistakes as well, because that's the biggest part of learning. And sometimes I think maybe if certain techniques were simplified or they were um, merged with two other techniques, it may be able to simplify certain elements purely by improving the technique. But I don't know how far one can take that. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. No, there was no question. There was the observation that I don't really know how, same as you, I don't really know how far we can simplify the techniques within tailoring to make them easier. I know that sometimes, you can simplify a technique and improve the technique so that it requires less skill to get better results. I know that that possibility is there, but I don't know how far that could be taken. I One of the questions I had was how you approach tailoring with all the details and kind of like the obsession that you have with the different parts. Do you have the same approach in other areas in life in general as well, or is tailoring the only moment where all of that kind of like is activated?
Yeah, I think I'm I'm obsessed with things in other fields in my life. When I'm when I'm in the shop, or when I'm I don't know, making other things, when I'm uh, working with embroidery.
Mm-hmm.
I love that my work or what I'm doing in that moment turns out, very well, or flawless, or perfect. And um, yeah, I think, yeah, it's a general obsession in life,
Mm-hmm.
with things to turn out well.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the most difficult thing for you in tailoring, or what has been the most difficult thing so far?
The sleeves, definitely.
Sleeves.
Yeah.
Why? Tell me why.
I don't know. You need to be very specific with the fullness
Mm-hmm.
when you're how do you say, when you're basting, when
Mm-hmm.
you put in the sleeve on, and it's a process I'm mastering little
Mm-hmm.
by little,
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, it gets difficult for me sometimes. Um, Color and sleeves
Mm-hmm.
have been more difficult for me. I think
Mm-hmm.
I've mastered the color right
Mm-hmm.
now, but the sleeves have been a little tricky for me.
Well, for many people,
Yeah.
it seems to be a very mysterious element. Sleeves. They say one thing and then they do something else, and they do that a lot of times. So that is bizarre. Yeah, I don't know. For, I did a. I've been doing some research for a while now, and I've been going through about. I must have gone probably through like 150 tailoring books, right? And there wasn't one book that I saw accurate and simple and detailed explanations on a theory about sleeves. Most of them, they would just present a draft and they would say, okay, from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, blah blah blah, and then and that would be it. And some of them had some instructions about, be careful that you don't put too much fullness, or be careful you don't stretch this too much, or whatever. But none of them really gave an accurate description of the physics of sleeves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are there a lot of Mexican tailoring books?
Yeah, there are some Mexican tailoring books. Um, I haven't read them, to be honest, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm more these English
Mm-hmm.
books.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Much more work are based in these English techniques or Italian techniques.
Mm-hmm. 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 And how has your experience been with tailoring books in general? What have you gained from studying them? Like, if someone would ask you, "Hey, what do you think about tailoring books? Do you recommend them or whatsoever?" What would you say? What's your take on them?
Yeah, totally. Uh, it has helped me to improve the fit,
Mm-hmm.
the techniques,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, and much of the results are because of my obsession to details.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'd like to do a speed round, Marco. I've got a few words. I'll say them to you, and you tell me the first thing that pops up your mind.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's go. The biggest problem in tailoring.
The biggest problem, I don't know, tailoring is so
Problematic.
problematic. I, I think to to see the body of the customers
Mm-hmm.
um, and put that measures into paper
Mm-hmm.
and then in a 3D garment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So translating the client's body to a 2D and then a 3D
Yeah,
object, basically.
exactly, exactly.
So just about problems in tailoring in general, one thing I'd like to ask is: are there specific problems that the Mexican tailoring industry is facing now? Like, when you're talking with your colleagues about tailors in Mexico or tailoring in Mexico, are there certain themes that keep coming back?
Yeah, the Mexican customer is not very tall,
Mm-hmm.
and the and I don't want to use the word fat, but this kind of fat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You need to make magic
Mm-hmm.
to translate, as you said, the measures into paper and then into a garment.
Mm-hmm. 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 I see. I see. Okay. Next word. Details.
Obsession.
Obsession. Okay. Um, Mexico City.
A very busy city.
Very busy.
Yeah, busy.
Um, Time is money.
Again,
Time is money.
I don't understand the first word.
Oh, time.
Time.
Time, yes.
Like, in place, timings.
Time, clock, time, watch.
Oh, I have problem with that. I have problem with the clock because, yeah, as I said before, I always take more time to finish a process because of this obsession to
Yeah.
to to turn out, I don't know, that perfect process perfect.
Hmm.
And yeah, I have a problem with the time with the clock.
What's the general time frame that you're expected to make a jacket? Let's say
Um, like 7 business days
7 days. 7 days.
around 7 8.
And that includes the work of the cutter as well, or only the tailor?
Yeah, only the making.
Only the making. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
And if I understand correctly, you do the buttonholes yourself when the coat is finished.
yeah.
Does every tailor there do that?
Yeah, every tailor knows how
Yeah.
to make buttonholes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that is specialized in making all the coat.
Yeah. So you don't have a separate person who does buttonholes only. All the tailors do their own buttonholes.
Yeah, the shop there's one person who
Uh-huh.
make buttonholes, but everybody has to know how to make buttonholes.
Okay, and you said there's a woman who does that.
Yeah,
Why why do you think that we I've never heard of a man finisher who does buttonholes. Everybody who does buttonholes is a lady, whether it's in Italy, in Spain, in Mexico, in America, in London, in Germany. Why do you think that is?
I don't know because maybe the master tailors uh, I don't know trust in women to finish their coat. Now, maybe because they think women are more focused on details.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know why, but yeah, in the shop we all know how to make buttonholes, and I make my own buttonholes. Yeah, I don't know why, man.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Ready to wear.
cheap.
Cheap. Cheap. Okay. Do you feel the same about made to measure?
Again, please.
Do you feel the same about made to measure?
Made to measure. Yeah, I don't know why. I think about factories and thousands of people in their machines sewing, I don't know, 100 suits a day. Yeah, I don't know. Ready to wear and the made to measures kind of 50-50, but ready to wear is definitely cheap for me.
Okay. Okay. Apprenticeships.
Patience.
Patience. Okay.
Yeah, a little
And
patience.
last but not least, Marco.
Perfectionist.
Perfectionist. That's a killer. Okay. No, that's good, man. It's a good place to stop. To stop. Thank you very much, Marco. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much.
And that was Marco. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation, and I hope that it inspired you as much as it inspired me. Personally, I'm very fond of details. I think they are extremely important. They make or break a garment, and as Marco said, a garment without attention to details can look cheap. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. If you like to see more of Marco's work, you can follow the link to his Instagram in the description of this video. And if you want to join the conversation, please do so in the comment section of this video. So until the next episode, bye bye.